Hi, my name is Megan Edwards of Focus Communications, and today we're getting the latest overview from LithiumBank, which trades on the Toronto Stock Exchange under the symbol LBNK. Joining me once again is Kevin Piepgrass, LithiumBank's Chief Operating Officer. Kevin, welcome back to the show.
Good to see you again, Megan.
So it's been a very active year for the company, where we've seen accelerated development from both your Boardwalk and Park Place direct lithium brine projects in Alberta. So today, I'd like to run through your latest presentation to bring our audience up to speed. So with that, I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks, Megan. Yeah, so we'll go through the new deck that we have published online here and give a quick overview here of the company. So just to start here, I think it's important to always note that the reason why we're searching in Alberta is because that there still remains the problem of a lithium shortage and a challenging situation with environmental and social issues with mining in general, especially lithium, where you have the traditional hard rock in mostly Australia and the salars in South America, in Argentina and Chile, where we see the advantages of the unconventional brine. We see as the next generation being advantageous in being able to get quicker to market and less environmental footprint and more efficient water usage and less consumption of fresh water with quick permitting timelines using Alberta Energy Regulator oil and gas regulations. So a lot of advantages there. In summary of our company, we're basically looking at, we've narrowed our exploration portfolio down to 2 district scale projects. We have Boardwalk and Park Place. We'll talk about these a bit more detail in a bit, where we have 2 large resources. We have a technology we'll talk about a bit as well, where we have exclusive licensing to a DLE technology. And we have quite a bit of experience behind us as well. We've engaged with some of the industry's best, including Hatch and Schlumberger, now known as SLB. Our DLE partners now go to Lithium, who is a subsidiary, who's a 50-50 joint venture of Ivanhoe's subsidiary. So here we're going to look at what we'll talk about later on in the slide deck here. But to summarize, LithiumBank has really focused on scale, developing 2 district scale lithium brine projects in Alberta, Boardwalk and Park Place. We've really focused on our DLE technology. We've since signed an exclusivity agreement as a primary lithium producer with Go-To Lithium Greenview Resources. They are, who is a joint venture with Computational Geosciences, a subsidiary of Ivanhoe Electric, and an Australian listed company called Cleantech Waters, who has decades of experience doing ion exchange at a commercial scale. That leads us to experience. We're collaborating and engaging with some of the industry best. Hatch Engineering, of course, who we've been working with for a couple of years now. Schlumberger, who we're working with now for subsurface modeling. Go-To Lithium, ZS2 Technologies for carbon capture and monetizing our magnesium elements in our brine, and Invest Alberta as well. And we can talk about our catalysts coming up with, we've released a PEA. We're going to do an updated PEA based on our new technology and our results from that technology test work, and have those results released. We'll be piloting our new technology that should arrive this year and start testing in Q1. And Park Place as well. We're going to be sampling and publishing a resource estimate with Schlumberger and piloting and working towards a PEA. So very busy, a lot of catalysts ahead of us. So we'll look at those in a bit more detail. Our 2 flagship projects, of course, Boardwalk and Park Place. We really like working in Alberta. There's the Alberta Advantage, which is a proactive government. It's a safe jurisdiction. We're not worried about losing our tenure. It's a low risk, very, very responsive social atmosphere where it's a very energy driven economy. The government has been proactive with Bill C-82 and Directive 090, which lays groundwork and legislation for permitting, and makes that clear. And of course, the infrastructure. Alberta is riddled with oil and gas, and that leaves a legacy of a lot of infrastructure. And when you look at Boardwalk, it's essentially a brownfields project with hundreds of well pads and a 4-lane divided highway going through it, rail, well pads, gas lines, power lines. It's an excellent place to do work. Our Boardwalk project, which is our flagship, we have a very substantial resource estimate of 6.2 million tons of LCE indicated and inferred. We have a published PEA, a preliminary economic assessment, which suggests a 31,350 ton lithium hydroxide production over a 20-year period. That's one of the biggest in North America for brine projects. It gives us a pre-tax NPV of $2.7 billion and an EBITDA of $586 million a year. We'll look at that in a bit more detail as well in the next slide. But essentially, the three necessary things in these projects are having that land and having that resource. Also, the land package is very important in any mineral or energy project. We've consolidated the entire Leduc Reef. You can see they're all crown minerals. We hold no freehold land in the area. To date, there's no carbon sequestration or pore space overlap, and there's no current oil and gas production in the Leduc formation, which makes it a very simplified project without having to deal with many parties, which makes things move faster and smoother. And of course, with any unconventional brine, you need to have a DLE technology, a direct lithium extraction technology. And we've been working with Hatch for 2 years, working with them to test and assess multiple different DLE technologies. We've probably done over 15 now. And what we've seen is the go-to lithium results have shown significant potential savings in the OPEX. And we see that as reason enough to update our PEA. It also comes with this exclusive technology, also comes with a pilot plant. And not just a lab scale pilot plant. This is a 500 liter per hour. We'll probably breach 10,000 liters a day. And give us plenty of LUA to work with going down the road.
And Kevin, in previous releases, you've highlighted that the production zone takes up a small portion of the target. Can you talk about this?
Yeah, you can see the production zone on the map there. As a footprint, it's probably about 25% of the overall Leduc Reef. And I think it measures out to be about 10% of the total brine in the whole Leduc. So there's certainly scale up potential. We obviously want to start somewhere. We started with a large project, but you can see even with North America's largest brine project, there's still room to expand and to move further to the north and add more production to that at some point in the future. So we see that as a potential upside going forward as well, for sure.
Excellent.
So our PEA numbers are highlights here. We use a $26,000 price. As I mentioned, it's over 31,000 tons lithium hydroxide a year. Our OPEX sits at $6,941 per ton. As I mentioned, with our new technology, we see the ability to bring those numbers down. The one thing that people always see is the CapEx being $2.1 billion. It's always important to note that these are 2023 numbers, post-inflation. These are numbers quoted from 2023, where prices have doubled. It also includes the project not being reliant on any other infrastructure, any oil and gas wells, any well pads, or even grid power. We even consider building our own power plant in this. So it's a very, island. It's a very isolated PEA with a lot of room to make enhancements with collaboration and adding infrastructure. So we see this as a very strong baseline study with a strong profit, an EBITDA of $586 million. And looking at those enhancements, there's ITC, government investment tax credit that the government is looking to finalize, which would take 30% off direct capital expenditures, which would be obviously a big benefit for any major capex project. Of course, the infrastructure would also benefit the capex and opex as well. Repurposing old wells and repurposing any surface infrastructure. one of the big drivers will be applying the go-to lithium results to the PEA. Additional geology work would improve our reservoir parameters of deliverability, which we're very confident about, and get that done. I mentioned ZS2 Technologies as one of our partners, and this ties into having the ability to generate carbon credits. ZS2 has a direct air capture system that would apply to our gas turbines, which are high efficiency and actually already 80% hydrogen ready at installation. So we could capture CO2 emissions and use the magnesium in the brine to sequester that permanently into ZS2's concrete material. That's their core business.
And will some of these enhancements be included in the updated PEA, Kevin?
Yeah, so the trigger was certainly the go-to lithium results, and that was the trigger to redo a PEA. Though we see those significant enough to rewrite the PEA. The oil and gas wells, we're looking at some of those. We hope to put some of those in the PEA, and if the ITC comes in soon enough, we'll include those as well. We just need legislation to be finalized, and we can add those as well. So next phases for the Boardwalk project is, of course, finish the updated PEA, which we expect to have some of those highlights next month. We will be piloting. That pilot plant is expected to be in our Calgary facility before the end of the year, and piloting Q1 next year. We also expect to be getting into the Leduc with our own well, getting some additional hydro and geological data downhole, and getting some additional samples, and that'll lead to an updated resource estimate giving measured and indicated tons and a new resource, which gives us all that gives us enough information for a pre-feasibility study with the pilot and the updated resource. So that's something we'd be working towards.
And on the pilot plant, will you be running brines from both projects?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. We'll get to that slide in a little bit, and but actually, I'll talk to Park Place right here. So this project is our sleeping giant, I guess. It's we've taken a couple years, maybe 3 years, to consolidate this land package to what it is now. It hosts, from our hydro study, it hosts the largest brine by volume than anyone holds in one company. So it's certainly a very large project. And historically, the samples have come back at 76 to 130 milligrams per liter. Our first sample that we acquired was late last year. It returned 77.2 milligrams per liter lithium, which was very encouraging on the lower end of the spectrum of historic, but certainly on the higher end of what we see in Alberta. So that's really encouraging. And so we're working currently with Schlumberger. We've signed an engagement with them they will be doing the subsurface reservoir modeling. We're using 3D and 2D seismic, hundreds and hundreds of well logs, and putting together a really strong 3D reservoir model, which will help with a very strong and technically sound 43101. We'll also be sending brine, as you asked, Megan, to our own pilot, as well as potentially DLE technology that Schlumberger has access to, or SLB, I should say, has access to. And for the next phases is sampling and DLE test work and our 43101. Once we have completed our sampling program, we'll be able to pilot following our piloting with Boardwalk in 2024, which will give us very robust data for a PEA. And we'll continue to add to that data set with additional drilling and sampling, which will lead us to a pre-feasibility. So that's we look to fast track that project and bring that up to the same level as Boardwalk, as you see here. We see that by 2025 we'll have been working on permitting and have a pre-feasibility study report in hand, and be at a decision point for construction. And lagging just slightly behind would be Park Place, with completing that pre-feas shortly after that. So We're moving very quickly on these projects and keeping that momentum going. Our Saskatchewan portfolio, as we've announced with a pristine lithium deal, they're looking to close that deal now. We would retain $2 million and 47% of pristine at closing. They're an excellent group. They have a lot of expertise, and they would move to quickly advance all three of our Saskatchewan assets, which gives us significant upside owning the vast majority of those shares. So we look forward to that deal closing and working with them to develop our Saskatchewan portfolio. Our production process, we've been through this before, but it's good to point out. It's really an oil. It's more of an oil and gas scenario than it is a mineral mine per se. As you can see with the pump jacks, it's really an oil and gas extraction method, oil and gas pretreatment things that are typical in the oil and gas industry. Number three, of course, being the direct lithium extraction, and following that after the bare and brine disposal, you're dealing with not necessarily high risk equipment that is used for lithium processing in other industries, in other lithium production facilities anyhow. So it's a really, really neat system that uses old technology. We're really looking at de-risking the DLE, and the DLE is where we think we've made a lot of headway. So this ion exchange technology that we've done a deal with GoTo Lithium, as I said, the group Clean Tech and Computational Geoscience, I mean, they've been doing ion exchange, commercial scale ion exchange for over 20 years. They have a continuous ion exchange system, which they've applied to lithium, which will be a continuous DLE system. And they've taken this pilot and built commercial plants from this pilot several times over. So it's exciting working with a group that can do this and is used to working at commercial scale and has that expertise in house that we can draw from, and move quite quickly. So this pilot plant, as I said, it should be in Calgary early next year. It should be on a boat by the end of this year, and coming through customs and boats and stuff. So by Q1 we expect to have this thing up and running and testing brine. So we're really excited for that. It gives us exclusivity from any other lithium company in Alberta and Saskatchewan. So only our projects can use this technology. If one technology gets sold, say with Pristine, Pristine will be able to use this technology as well. So it goes with the project. Mm-hmm. And scale is important when you're piloting. You really having something of scale to really test your resin, really test your flow, and you really test the process. Having something that can do 500 liters an hour is something that will give us a very strong data, and something that you'd really want to use for a feasibility level study. So our DLE testing timeline, as I said, pilot plant testing would commence Q1. We expect to receive it and commission it in November and December of this year, and that's on the backs of the whole reason for doing all this was on the backs of 5 months of test work with GoTo Lithium, and of course Hatch being our third party to preview all the test work and ensure we're making right decision making skills. So we're really excited to move forward with this pilot. Mm-hmm. We being in Alberta, we have obviously a strong comparable to us, which is E3 Lithium. They've done a great job being first to market and doing a lot of the de-risking. But when you look at the bare bones of straight comparables, you'll see that these projects they're not dissimilar. They're both Leduc. They're both similar depths, similar grades, similar temperatures. Similar deliverability. Geologically, they're incredibly similar. I think we benefit from having a stronger land position with 100% crown, and maybe a bit simpler without having other overlapping claims. So it's interesting to see the big disparity of market cap But like I said, first mover, and they've done a great job with that. But we look forward to closing that gap, because when you come down to when it comes down to catching up with the DLE technology per se, for example, there will be very, very minimal differences in the near term here. So we've had this slide in our deck for a little while. I think it's still very relevant. The intended value creation stages. You can see Standard Lithium has done the lion's share of de-risking on their project. They're ahead of the game. They've come out and said they're going to be doing commercial production in the next 12 months, which is fantastic. They'll be de-risking their DLE at a commercial scale. And so they've certainly had value creation from that de-risking. E3 as well, you can see that the share price discrepancy between us and them from their piloting and de-risking and moving forward with that. So, our expectation is to continue down the value creation curve in really a step-by-step fashion, which is really organic, to de-risk the project, de-risk the resource, de-risk the technology, and put it out and publish the proper reports and moving forward. So we expect to be narrowing those gaps in the near future.
Is it a case of Boardwalk being the flagship project, or does LithiumBank now have two flagships with one just behind the other?
Well, I'd say it currently, we have to stick with Boardwalk as our flagship project just because it's further advanced than Park Place. Park Place is lagging behind, and then until we have that resource estimate and really put some economics around that, Boardwalk remains our flagship. Could that change in the future? Time will tell, I suppose. But until that time, yes, Boardwalk would be our flagship. So our share price, we have a very strong cap table, 46 million shares outstanding, which includes our Go-To Lithium deal on their first milestone of signing the deal with us, and we remain strong. We've recently released a $2 million financing, which we expect to close shortly, and so it gives us a strong cash position going forward, with over $6 million flow through dollars financing and an additional couple $1 million of hard dollars. So why LithiumBank? Well, we have two district scale projects, very strong, very capable DLE technology that's exclusive to our projects, and we see these as being near-term production.
And there's a lot to look forward to LithiumBank over the next 12 to 18 months. Are there any final comments you'd like to leave with our listeners?
Yeah, I would stay tuned. I think from what we've gone through, we have a lot of catalysts coming in the near future, and significant catalysts with the pilot plant and resource estimates and PEAs. So our PEA for Boardwalk being updated is certainly a thing to look out for. Our pilot plant coming and being set up early next year will be something that we'll be showing and highlighting and inviting people to see. I think we're very excited about that, and that really is a game changer for us. I think having that technology and proving that out, we're really excited to prove that out. That's a really big next step for us, for sure.
Thank you again for your time today, Kevin, and we'll be sure to keep a close eye on LithiumBank's developments, and we look forward to hearing more from the company in the near future.
Great. Good talking to you. Thanks, Megan.